day for SA. China to invest billions more in our economy, and Eskom thrown a lifeline loan.
You can accuse me. You cannot accuse me.
In Zimbabwe, less than a week before the general election, ZANU-PF furiously denies collusion with the Electoral Commission, but the main opposition is now threatening to withdraw from the poll. And in sports news, the Ajax Cape Town versus PSL legal drama drags on, with the case now due to be heard in court on Thursday. This is eNews at 8, live from Johannesburg. I'm Sally Burdett. Good evening. China has committed to investing $14.7 billion in the South African economy. That's over and above the $11 billion they currently invest. And China's Development Bank is loaning Eskom over $2 billion. Now, the announcement comes as President Xi Jinping visits the country ahead of the BRICS Trading Partners Summit, which begins tomorrow. President Cyril Ramaphosa is using the opportunity to review, strengthen and deepen relations between the two countries. John Bailey has the story.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of China-South Africa diplomatic relations. President Xi Jinping arrived in South Africa after visits to the United Arab Emirates, Senegal and Rwanda. The visit by Xi has been described as a major diplomatic engagement.
President Xi has indicated that China is ready to invest and to work with South Africa in various sectors, such as infrastructure, ocean economy, green economy, science and technology, agriculture and environment, as well as finance.
A number of agreements have been signed between the two countries, which include deals with Eskom and Transnet. Transnet signed a loan facility with the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, while the power utility signed a loan agreement of $2.5 billion with China's Development Bank.
This is a continuation of our funding, and it moves us very close to concluding the funding for this year. Of course, after this transaction, we'll have covered 66% of the funding for this financial year. It comes at an opportune time.
Over the past 2 decades, China has become South Africa's comprehensive strategic partner. 4 commercial agreements in Limpopo will increase job creation.
We will see that a part of the world becoming a center for economic development in terms of jobs and also regional integration. So we're looking, for instance, on the artisans for metallurgy, for instance, we look at skilled 12,000 employees immediately into the plant on a continuous basis.
An agreement was also signed to soften strict visa regimes. It's hoped this will increase trade and tourism. John Bailey, Pretoria.
Well, let's take this further now with business anchor Moteo Kharipe. Moteo, thanks so much for joining us in studio. Is the problem solved now for Eskom? The $2.5 billion, it's more than going to cover the irregular expenditure of the last 6 years and the net loss from last year. So they're hunky-dory now.
I wouldn't say hunky-dory, but I think they're well on their way now. You know, the Pahamani Khadebe is saying that about 66% of the capital targets they were trying to get in terms of funding, they'll be able to reach with this new loan that's coming in as well. And it's been a new board and a new executive that's been trying to chase money on all sorts of markets. So this comes in as a very good, encouragement for them to get more money. We know that Eskom, of course, needs over 70 billion rands to turn itself around and to become a going concern as it wants to be and cut itself from the country's government guarantees. But of course, this is a government-backed loan, so it goes back to that guarantee talk to say, when are we going to wean off the state-owned companies from a lot of help from government? But I think this will help them buy time in terms of going back to the market and asking for more money and actually showing that, look, they could be more liquid than they were a while back.
And loans have to be repaid. So yes, a vote of confidence. But if we look at the municipalities that continue to owe Eskom, Eskom has to do some serious fixing.
There was some tough talk from the CEO, Pahamani Khadebe, to say, look, we can't now not look at the money that we owed by municipalities. There needs to be some sort of drawback from municipalities to say, look, we can't pay you the amount that you want, but this is how much we are able to pay you. Eskom does need that money, and there needs to be a new culture of repayment in terms of municipalities.
They're going to push. Of course, the other thing is, with wage talks still on the table, surely bonuses are back on the table after this good news today.
Well, the NUM saying yesterday, you know, with terms of Eskom not wanting to pay bonuses, would be declaring war on the unions. So with the money they're seeing come in, there could be some interest from workers to say, well, there's a new loan, so surely we can relook the way these bonuses are structured.
Now, the other good news, of course, is the trade relations issue. Let's listen to what Minister Rob Davies said about that a little earlier today.
When we look at the existing quantum of Chinese investment, we record about $11 billion US, so 14 billion on top of that will be a substantial increase. And still at the moment, right now as we sit now, South African companies invest more in China than Chinese companies invest in South Africa. So we want to try to strengthen the investment relationship. The investment relationship will also enable us to develop more trade. So we've been supporting the idea of investment-led trade rather than trade-led investment.
Right, so the emphasis there, the imbalance is still in favour. The balance is still in favour of China. He talks about investment relationship. Why is that crucial? Why is that the best way forward?
The way we've been trading with China so far has been on a government-to-government basis, which means they focus more on your Transnets and Escoms. He's speaking more to other opportunities in the market where other privately owned companies or agricultural processing companies come through. We've had them in textiles, but there could be a lot of tech that could come out in terms of investment from China. So investment from the private sector, from China's side into South Africa, is what he's more looking at now, instead of just having a bartering deal in terms of trade deals and MOUs that we've signed with them now. So he's looking at more capital coming from their markets to our market instead of just a government trade deal.
Sounds fantastic. Well, let's hope it happens. Thank you so much. That was our business anchor, Moteo Khoriba, talking about Chinese investment in South Africa and that lifeline loan for Eskom today. Moving across our border now, and it's less than a week until Zimbabwe's general election, but things are already threatening to fall apart. Today, tempers flared at a meeting between the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission and political parties. The opposition MDC raised concerns that the commission is biased in favour of the governing ZANU-PF party. The commission dismissed those concerns, however, and now the MDC alliance leader, Nelson Chamisa, says it might boycott next week's poll. They have an emergency meeting planned for tomorrow. Here's a report now from Aldrin St-Pierre, part of our team in Zimbabwe ahead of the elections.
It's significant that Nelson Chamisa has called this emergency meeting between the members of the MDC alliance, further putting the country on tenterhooks.
They would make an assessment on whether it is worth to go into an election or not.
But if you can my part, you can accuse me. But I can raise you cannot accuse me. I can raise.
This follows a chaotic meeting between political parties as well as the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, where it also emphasized that it will not give in to some of the demands that have been made, especially by the opposition parties, and accusations flew left, right and center, leading to ZANU-PF storming out of that meeting.
But unfortunately, whenever they think that they're about to lose an election, they then want to lay allegations against ZANU-PF.
At least one presidential candidate, Divine Hoover, has decided to pull out of the race, leaving only 22 presidential candidates who are in the running to become president of this country. On the other hand, the police say they will ensure that the July 30 elections are free, fair and peaceful.
We expect the police to know more on human rights. We also expect them to have high discipline.
A record number 71,000 police officers will be deployed across the country. Aldrin St-Pierre, Harare.
Back home, and another ANC ward councillor has been gunned down, this time in Knysna in the Western Cape. Victor Molosi was ambushed outside his home in Concordia last night. Police say suspects fired several shots at him. The 50-year-old sustained a gunshot wound to the head and was declared dead at hospital. The motive for the shooting is unknown. No arrests have been made. But this killing comes 2 days after an ANC Youth League leader was shot dead in Umlazi in KwaZulu-Natal. Still ahead on eNews, a heartbroken mother pleads for mercy for the father who mistakenly killed the son. To the the Western Cape now, Police Minister Bheki Cele has promised the people of Zwelihle in Hermanus that there will be justice. He says the Independent Police Investigative Directorate will investigate claims of police brutality. He's urged the community to let the law follow its course regarding arrested community leaders accused of violence. Now, the township has seen weeks of protests over land and housing, but some calm has now been restored. Today was the second visit by the minister to the troubled area. Artyom Tongana was there.
As promised, the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, returned to the community of Zwelihle. He held an imbizo where residents expressed their concern about the incidents that have been happening in the community.
Ibuhlungu ndisuke ndive ngepolisi elinye elenzakeleyo kodwa sinengqweleka zingaka ezileqa 50 tatu Bheki Cele nezimiphefumlo ephumileyo. Before uhambe uzikomithe wenze i-commitment ba abantu abaswelekeleyo, abantu abalimeleyo, abantu ababanjiweyo ndizakwenza A, B, C baze baphile.
The minister says he'll bring in the IPID to investigate some of the incidents that have been happening in this community.
There are people that they claim and they allege that were injured by the police. The law is very clear. Where communities are complaining about the police, you bring the IPID, though they've made a request that they will want to see another commission, of which we are prepared to work with them to find a person that will be accepted in all sides, and we go on.
The minister will further be engaging with some of the community leaders here to continue stabilizing matters in Zwelihle. Tim Tongana, Hermanus in the Western Cape.
Other news now, and it's every parent's worst nightmare, the death of a child. But to have caused your child's death must be nothing short of agony. Well, today, Sibusiso Tshabalala appeared in the Lenasia Magistrates Court. He's facing a murder charge for killing his 16-year-old son, Luyanda, last month. Now, Luyanda's mother says she forgives Tshabalala and hopes the court will show mercy. Malungelo Boy reports.
Spiwe Kalashiwayo is present in court for the first time. Her 16-year-old son Luyanda Tshabalala was shot and killed at his school in Annandale by his father Sibusiso in June. The 51-year-old, who now faces a charge of murder, says he had dropped his son at school for evening lessons and fell asleep while waiting for him. When Luyanda woke him up, he mistook his son for a hijacker and shot him. At Tshabalala's second court appearance, the state said its investigations have not yet been completed.
The ballistic report is still outstanding. Scene photos still outstanding. May I also place there are a number of things which we are still investigating. Your Worship, in that charge sheet, I've attached the letter from the Director of Public Prosecution to confirm that this matter will be heard at the High Court. One advocate is assigned to attend to this matter.
We will just have to wait patiently for the investigation to be completed, and once all the evidence is available, then a proper decision can be taken in this matter. That is my viewpoint.
Kalashiwaya says she's battling to come to terms with her loss, but holds no ill feelings towards Tshabalala.
Yebo ngamxolela because ngiyayazi a relationship beyikhona between yena nomntwana. Yebo.
Ibinjani?
They were very close, very close. Khona manje say akakhoni yazi akakhoni kunzima for thina sonke.
Kalashiwaya made this plea to those handling the case.
So ngisho ngathi bangaba nobubele kuye because ngikhulumile naye isikhathi esiningi kubuhlungu naye aka understand ukuthi kwenzakaleni and kuyamlimaza kakhulu.
Tshabalala will return to court on the 4th of September. Malungelo Boy, Lenasia.
To Greece now, and 3 days of national mourning have been declared after the death of at least 74 people in a fast-moving blaze. The fire broke out east of Athens late on Monday afternoon. By this afternoon, it was mostly contained, but still burning in some areas. Emergency crews found the bodies of several victims lying close together near the top of a cliff overlooking a beach. The people had fled to the top of the cliff, apparently searching for an escape route. Searing summer heat in Greece could cause the fire to reignite in the country's dry scrubland. Let's recap your top story this evening. A good day for South Africa. China to invest billions more in our economy, and Eskom is thrown a lifeline loan. Weather next, and then a young pilot setting off on a journey of a lifetime, all for a good cause.
Good evening, everyone. Let's take a look at your Wednesday's weather conditions. And while most of the country will stay clear for the next 24 hours, in the west there's some cloud cover along the coastline, and that's going to gradually spread towards the Eastern Cape during the course of Wednesday afternoon. Along with that, there could be light rain in places over that area, and towards evening the cloud will push a bit further inland over parts of the Western and Eastern Cape provinces. In the Northern Cape, though, it stays dry, and it's going to be a fairly warm afternoon for some parts, with Kimberley and Postmasburg both reaching a maximum temperature of 24 degrees. The cooling trend continues for Cape Town with a maximum of 19, and there we see light rain extending along the south coast and the adjacent interior. It really is just light rain or drizzle. We don't expect significant rainfall after the cold front brushing over the area. Light rain will also be possible for the Nelson Mandela Bay region, but only towards evening, so it will be a dry afternoon for Port Elizabeth, but significantly cooler than it has been with a maximum of 21. Sunny and warm all across KwaZulu-Natal for Wednesday afternoon. Ulundi reaches a high of 29 degrees, and similar temperatures expected for the low veld of Mpumalanga, while it stays mild once again on the high veld, but even Ermelo manages to get above 20. Warming up in Limpopo as skies will be clearer over the province, Polokwane reaching a high of 24 after a minimum of only 6 degrees Celsius. And it's going to be a cold morning, as one might expect, for the northwest, but the afternoon will be warm across the area. Pleasantly warm as well in the afternoon hours for the Free State. You can plan to have lunch outside if you're in Bloemfontein with a maximum of 22 degrees Celsius. And finally for Gauteng, where we expect the same daytime high for Johannesburg, it's going to be a cold morning on the other hand for Vereeniging with an overnight low of 0. Let's look ahead to Thursday, and we're going to continue seeing temperatures rising for the northern parts of the country. Pretoria at 25, while Johannesburg climbs to 23 degrees Celsius, and that persists into Friday, while in the west we expect a few showers for the Cape provinces as a low pressure system approaches the region. That's all from the Weather Centre. Goodbye for now.
And finally, an American teen is hoping to become the youngest pilot to circumnavigate the globe, and it's all for a good cause. The 18-year-old aviation student set off on his journey from Louisiana on Sunday. Mason Andrews will be on a 40-day journey, and it will entail flying up to 7 hours at a time. Recapping your top stories, a good day for SA, China to invest billions more in our economy, and Eskom thrown a lifeline loan. And in Zimbabwe, less than a week before the general election, ZANU-PF furiously denies collusion with the Electoral Commission, but the main opposition is now threatening to withdraw from the poll. And that's your news. Take care. Good night.